Still looking at the pre-operational stage, the 2 to 7-year-old stage. This stage is also characterised by a concept called animism, the belief that everything that exists has some kind of consciousness or awareness. So, for example, have you seen that ad where the kid doesn't want his dad to cut the dinosaur jelly lolly in half? Don't hurt the dinosaur, Daddy. This is this idea of animism. Kids think that everything has a consciousness. If you cut the dinosaur lolly in half, it will hurt the dinosaur as though it has feelings. Or have you ever seen a little kid smacking a table or a chair after running into it because it hurt them, and they say, naughty table, and smack it as though that somehow hurts the table to make up for it. You hurt me, I hurt you, as though the table could feel hurt. This is kind of related to egocentricity. If I can feel pain, everybody must be able to feel pain, including the table, including the dinosaur lolly. Another key factor in the pre-operational stage, animism. Later in this stage, children begin to understand a concept called transformation. This is the understanding that something can change from one state to another. So, for example, a child who does not yet understand transformation could sit and literally watch a block of ice melt into water and not understand what's happened. If you ask them where did the water come from, they won't be able to say it came from the ice and the ice just melted and it's the same water from solid to liquid form. Instead, they'll be like, even though they watched it happen, they'll be like, some water came on the table. You'll say, did that used to be ice? No. Okay, so kids early on in the stage, will, even though they watched it melt, they'll say no, because that was ice, and ice is hard, and this is water, which is soft. So even though they watched it happen, they don't have the concept to be able to explain what they just saw. Later in this stage, in the pre-operational stage, by the time they're heading towards age 7, the same child would realise that in both forms it was just water, just that the ice was water in its frozen form. So by the end of the stage, they do understand transformation. That's another one of Piaget's key accomplishments. By the end of the stage, they'll understand transformation. At the start of the stage, they just don't get that. And it's funny to ask 3-year-olds because they look dumb. Also, this stage is characterised by centration. This refers to the fact that children in this stage generally only concentrate on one element at a time. They centre on that. So, for example, in a classic experiment, what Piaget did was he got 2 glasses that are the same size and shape, and he half filled them. Okay, then he asked the child which is filled up more, and they'll say they're the same. Okay, so you've got 2 glasses, exactly the same size and shape, both half full. Which one's full up more? The kid will look at you like an idiot. He'll say they've both got the same amount of water in them, which of course they do. Then, right in front of the child, in front of their eyes, if you pick up one of those glasses of water and pour it into a different shaped glass, say a tall, skinny glass, right in front of the child, and then ask which has more water, they will pick one or the other because they can only concentrate on one aspect. So they'll either say, if you had 2, let's say these were our original glasses of water, about the same size and shape, filled up to here. Let's say you poured this one into a much taller and skinnier container. So all of a sudden the water comes up to about here. If you now ask them, they watched you pour the water from this one into this one. If you now ask them which one of these glasses, this one or this one, has more water, they'll pick one or the other. They'll either say this one because it's higher up, or some kids will say this one because it's fatter. But either way, kids in the pre-operational stage won't be able to say, well, it has the same amount of water, because they centrate on one factor, usually the height. They'll usually think this one has more water because it's higher up. By the end of the pre-operational stage, they have accomplished centration, so they'll be able to say, no, I watched you pour that in there and they've both got the same. So you'd expect a 7-year-old to be able to watch you pour this one into here and say, no, they've both got the same. But if you did this with a 3-year-old, they'd probably say this one has more. So if you're pouring yourself a soft drink at home with your 3-year-old nephew or cousin or neighbour around, what you want to do is get yourself a short, fat glass and fill it quite up high. Give them a long, tall, skinny one. They'll think they're getting just as much as you, but actually they're not getting very much at all. All right, we've got another YouTube on this one. So again, on our Moodle page, coming to Moodle, scrolling down, Piaget videos. It's the second video down we have here. Piaget, stage 2, pre-operation, lack of conservation. Centration is also related to reversibility. And reversibility is the ability to follow a line of reasoning back to its original starting point. So at the end of the pre-operational stage, by about 7 years of old, children can reverse the water pouring activity back to its beginning mentally and realise that it's the same amount of water. So they can say, okay, I just watched you pour it from glass A into glass B. Glass B must have the same amount of water as glass A because I watched you do that process, and I can mentally reverse the process. So again, heading to the Moodle page, this time here, we've got ourselves Piaget stage 3, congruent reversibility. This girl here does understand reversibility. So she has moved on from the pre-operational stage because she does have the ability to reverse the process. So pause this video and find yourself that Piaget video to watch.